scary for filmmakers who don't have that release right now, and it's going to be an increasingly big issue for filmmakers, and it's something we're going to have to address with the streamers at some point.
Christopher Nolan is responsible for one of the greatest burns of the modern film industry. In the middle of the pandemic, when Warner Brothers decided to put their entire 2021 release slate on HBO Max, he cut loose an incredible quote, saying, "Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service." This, at minimum, aside from the COVID-induced panic in the upper echelon of Warner executives, proves that Christopher Nolan has always firmly believed that streaming is not the thing. So, it's no surprise that with the Blu-ray release of Oppenheimer, he's once again going to bat for physical media.
If you buy a 4K UHD, you buy a Blu-ray, it's on your shelf, it's yours. No company, is going to break into your house and take it from you and repossess it. It's yours and you own it. That's never really the case with any form of digital distribution. You're relying on the continued health of the supplier, the company who's supplying it, what have you.
But as one of cinema's most vocal defenders, there's something more troubling than consumers' experience with their post-theatrical media: the slow death of physical media. As Best Buy recently announced they would begin phasing out their physical media sales, including DVD and Blu-ray, we got to ask Nolan and Oppenheimer producer Emma Thomas about the past and present of home media and what it means to the economics of the film industry.
When I came to you with those calculations, we thought we might start a chain reaction that would destroy the entire world. I believe we did.
With the advent of beta tapes and VHS in the 70s and their eventual takeoff in the 80s when they became affordable and ubiquitous, the home video market has been an integral part of a film's financing. Suddenly, studios didn't have to worry about recouping a film's entire budget in theaters. In the years since, with DVD and Blu-ray offering limitless re-releases, the home video market has given life to movies we otherwise might not have seen, or a second chance to films and filmmakers who didn't quite blow up the box office the first time around. But with the rise of streaming and studios' insistent push in that direction comes the apparent slow death of physical media, which, as our headline points out, is probably a bad thing for the business, and also a move that doesn't seem to have a longer view in mind.
Yeah, and it's an essential revenue stream. Best Buy is certainly carrying this movie, and they're going to carry on selling to players, so I'm not sure quite what motivated that decision. It doesn't really make sense, but a lot of economic decisions around home video have always been based on the need to show short-term growth rather than the long-term health of the business. And that's kind of got our industry into the pickle that it's been in this summer.
First off, I have to tell you, I think that the slow death of physical media is a terrible thing for consumers. I think it's a terrible thing for filmmakers who want their films to have a life beyond whatever their initial release is. And I think that all of us should be doing everything that we can to keep it going.
The truth is, it's impacted the kinds of movies being made, while the realities of how expensive movies are have not changed as much. There's the budget of the actual production, the cost of marketing, and the split with theaters. All that needs to be recouped before a producer can start to see profit. Matt Damon might explain it better, even while his mouth is on fire. Here he is on Hot Ones, digging into the intricacies of home video market economics.
I did this movie Behind the Candelabra, and I talked to a studio executive who explained it was a $25 million movie. I would have to put that much into print and advertising, right, to market it. I have to split everything I get with the exhibitor, right, the people who own the movie theaters. So I would have to make $100 million before I got into profit. And the idea of making $100 million on a story about like this love affair between these two people, yeah, I love everyone in the movie, but that's suddenly a massive gamble in a way that it wasn't in the 1990s when they were making all those kind of movies, the kind of movies that I loved and the kind of movies that were my bread and butter.
For Christopher Nolan, a director who got his start on indie fare like Following and Memento, movies from an unproven director with no guarantee of a financial return, he's not convinced movies like that are impossible these days, just different.
Getting Memento made was not easy. We could not get it distributed. And so I couldn't sit here and say, well, it's harder now to get something distributed. There wasn't a distributor as effective as A24 in the world, who's putting out all kinds of incredible and challenging movies on a very regular basis. They do an amazing job. It's far better than what the guys who were around when we were doing Memento. So it's not a simple progression. As far as the funding though, yes, money from physical media fed into funding Memento, for example. But at the same time, there's a lot of money that comes in from streaming and everything. And so I think these things sort of move around rather than, fundamentally change.
And so, technology and the film industry continue to shift, doing the same thing, just down a different avenue. Another strange industry phenomenon that fits that bill is a movie just straight up disappearing. In the old days, film prints would be thought lost or destroyed for decades before being rediscovered in a janitor's closet of a mental hospital in Oslo. Now, all it takes is a thirst for tax breaks. From Batgirl to John Cena's Coyote vs. Acme project, Warner Brothers has made a recent habit of canceling movies that are already finished, a move that certainly hasn't paid off for the studio where its reputation is concerned. When asked about the idea of a streaming service disappearing a film, Emma Thomas can think of a word to describe it.
I can imagine plenty of bad things, but I think it would be absolutely appalling to spend 2 years of your life on a movie and then have it just disappear completely or not be allowed a release. I think that would just be a terrible thing. So I sympathize deeply with the filmmakers that that's happened to.
But it also brings up another issue with physical media versus streaming: control, for both the artist and the consumer.
We're now beginning to see, and I'm beginning to have conversations with filmmakers who have made successful films that have gone, for streaming sites, that have been taken off those sites and don't exist in any form. There's no control. And so even from a consumer point of view, and it's scary for filmmakers who don't have that release right now, and it's going to be an increasingly big issue for filmmakers, and it's something we're going to have to address with the streamers at some point.
The other concern, unless you're counting on those janitors in Norway to save your film, is an archival one. Take The Dark Knight, for example, whose Blu-ray story touches on just about everything we've talked about here. In fact, the Blu-ray release was an argument in favor of employing IMAX for the film in the first place.
The Dark Knight was the first major Blu-ray sort of hit title. And when we decided to shoot IMAX on The Dark Knight, we went to Warner Brothers and said, there will be benefit on home video. There'll be benefit. Blu-ray was a new format then that they were looking to push. You'll see the difference in quality from these, high-resolution IMAX cameras. And that's carried through in all our home video releases because we've carried on using those large film formats. And so Oppenheimer is no exception, and we put a lot of care and attention to maximizing the image quality so that the benefit of shooting IMAX film is retained. I mean, the wonderful thing about acquiring your images on the highest quality analog film negatives is they transfer beautifully to any digital medium.
Maybe it's time we all stop trying to outsmart the truth and let it have its day.
On the other hand, for the consumer, the archival aspect of physical media is more than just shelf space, according to Emma Thomas.
It's been very interesting, actually, with Oppenheimer coming out and sort of meeting a lot of people who are talking to us about the film. And a lot of them are talking about which of Chris's films are sort of their favorite. And Interstellar keeps coming up. Now, a lot of these people are way younger than they would have been able to see that film when it came out in cinemas. And it's very clear that they're seeing it on physical media or have seen it on physical media over time. And, I think that sort of disallowing people that chance to find filmmakers, to find movies, to experience stories is a great shame.
It is a conversation that will, of course, keep going as the distribution avenues available to studios continue to evolve and the filmmakers creating the art that's worth distributing find ways to exist within that system. For Christopher Nolan, though, he's concerned with the long-term viability of the films he's creating right now.
We've been having this discussion with, home video and retailers for many years in terms of it's always sort of undervalued relative to where it is in the ecosystem. And I think a lot of that is because Wall Street is always asking companies about their future, about where are you showing growth, where are you moving to? And of course, as filmmakers, what we're interested in is right now, how are people watching things? What's the best way for someone to watch it? And we want to maximize that.
So what do you think? You big physical media people down there? Let us know in the comments. And for all your other movie news, be sure to subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.